Hey, welcome to the first class of Chad's BeerTube Academy with me, Chad of Chad's Beer Reviews. If this is your first time here, welcome, or maybe you've been watching me for years, literally years. I've been here since 2008. I would like to think that, I'm at least a pretty competent, both beer tuber as in making videos and an actual beer judge. I am a certified BJCP and also Cicerone beer server. I'll define beer tuber as somebody who makes videos about beer, not necessarily craft beer, any style, in the form of basically mostly reviews, but also like podcasts, documentaries, just live streams, general discussion. If you're going to be on YouTube, the first thing you should ask yourself is like why you want to do it. If you want to get on here for fame and fortune, I hate to tell you that the chances of that happening are very, very slim, not that impossible. If you want to be in the social media sphere and talk about beer, Instagram and TikTok are much more popular platforms than YouTube. It would take classes and classes and classes to tell you about all the different, beer styles and the science and chemistry of beer and all that stuff. There are a few textbooks, I guess you could say, or resources. Download the most recent BJCP guidelines if you're watching this in the future. Maybe this one I'm holding my hand is to 2021. If I only had to recommend two books, I would recommend these two. How to Brew by John Palmer. This is meant more for home brewers, but this has all the basic beer chemistry and microbiology, and basically if you want to become a BJCP certified judge, this is essentially the syllabus for the test. Second book would be Tasting Beer by Randy Mosier. This is a great beer encyclopedia. It kind of gives you an overview of like all the main styles, the history of beer, and again, kind of a little bit of the chemistry and microbiology, although I would say the John Palmer book, it's in much more detail. What I also might recommend is, if you go to my channel here, I have a series called Tuesday Night Beer School, where literally every Tuesday night, me and a friend will grab a beer out of the style guidelines, actually two beers, and we will judge them to spec. So this is, if you want to learn about styles, watch this show. Or if you just want to learn how to be a pretty good beer tuber, at least in my opinion, watch my reviews of beer. Some other good resources, obviously bjcp.org. This has your one-stop shop for everything to become a full-on beer nerd. I'm shooting this on a desktop PC. I have two monitors. I know a lot of people shoot on their phone or they have like an actual video camera. I mean, that's great too. For me, it's just easier to use the computer in case I need to reference a web page like this. But what I use is OBS. This is a completely free software. It's actually really easy to use. Again, it's way beyond the scope of this video, but if you just go on YouTube and just do search for OBS tutorial, there's tons of stuff on there. Now there's some equipment you're gonna need. Obviously, you can see right here I have a microphone, and also what you can't see, or maybe you can tell, is that I have two ring light cameras. But if you go to my Amazon store and go down to YouTubers accessories, there's a lot of stuff on here that will get you started. I mean, some of this is like way more than you might need, like this whole, green screen and lights and all that stuff. But I do recommend having like at least a little bit of lights, a good microphone. I've had this microphone for 7 years. Let's just say I've done all the shopping for you. So mics, cameras, other little accessories, cables, things like that. And again, to be a competent YouTuber, there's channels and channels and channels dedicated to that. So this is kind of just a, part one in a series of video. If I had to actually give you a very quick elevator speech on how to be a competent beer tuber, first things first is to just, like I said, get these books, just get an overview of the styles, get familiar with the styles, the style history, the ingredients, especially the ingredients. And you need to, first of all, you should know what's the difference between an ale and a lager. If you don't know the difference between an ale and a lager, read. If you know what you're talking about, you're just going to attract more viewers. If you're just a complete schmuck who doesn't know what they're talking about, you're just going to get trolled. You ever heard the phrase, rising tide lifts all boats? I kind of believe that's true of the BeerTube scene. You don't have to be a master Cicerone or national BJCP or whatever. It's just to be more knowledgeable than the person at the bar. It's funny when it actually comes to judging beer. It's a kind of weird paradox of judging something when we have actually objectives. That's what the style guidelines are. These are like objectives of like how a beer of this style should smell, look, taste, and all that stuff. But at the same time, you're also judging it objectively because everybody has the same palate. What smells nice to you might smell gross to somebody else. Same thing with taste and all that stuff. Knowing like what should or shouldn't be in that style is going to make you a more competent beer reviewer or beer critic. I mean, or maybe just drinking beer for fun. Not really trying to change brewing trends and things like that. Or, nobody's going to listen to one guy on YouTube about that, but it's just kind of saying like, hey, here's what I like. If you can, dedicate an entire room just to doing your beer reviews. Do invest in the right glassware. Like this Spiegel craft beer tasting kit, you can get this at a lot of beer stores or again on my Amazon store there. You don't want to pour a Trappist triple into like a pint glass. You would use like a more like a stemmed tulip glass or something like that. If you have kids, pets, dogs, and I'm guilty of this, is like try not to get them into the video, try to keep them in a separate room or, shoot when they're asleep. Like I could go down a huge laundry list of the do's and don'ts. The only thing I would say is you want to concentrate on the five main categories. So first is aroma. When you're actually scoring on a competition, aroma counts for about 24% of the overall score. Appearance is 6%. Flavor is 30%. Mouthfeel is 10%. And then overall is 20%. We'll actually go over this in the next class. I will shoot a beer review and then I'll go over it as I'm editing it, and then so you can see like what I'm doing. Another good piece of advice would be to just kind of like get right to the point. You should be drinking the beer within 2 minutes. So it's kind of like, hey, welcome to whatever the name of your show is. Here's the beer we're drinking. Just get right to it. There's no reason to babble. People have short attention spans and they want to see you get to the point. So comment on appearance and aroma first, then get into the actual drinking. And after every sip, you might get something different. You also want to comment on the body, mouthfeel, carbonation, texture, and the overall drinkability. Like this particular beer that I'm holding here, this is a really strong beer. It's like 10 or 12% ABV. So it's not like super drinkable, or it's not as easily, I should say it's not as easily drinkable as like a Bud Light or something like that. And also you can do minor, little pop-ups. Like if you go on YouTube and do green screen effects, there's tons of things that you can download for free to add little pop-ups. Like, subscribe or like to show off your Instagram or TikTok or, other social media posts and things like that. These are all available. They're all easy to do. Class 2 will be to how to actually cut all that fluff. Unless you're just live stream and you don't really care if you go 10, 15 minutes. Personally, I think a good beer review should be between 5 and maybe 8 minutes. All right. So if you watch all the way in, you are a great student. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next class. Cheers.